Universus. They probably can't hear me until I uncheck that box.
Oh, we can hear you.
Yeah, so far that's been the struggle. I'm gonna give it a minute to see if people roll in because normally I've got like the countdown timer and I've got, I go live a couple minutes early, but this time we're just hitting the live button.
Yeah, no worries there.
I'm just gonna wait till like one person rolls in, basically. Actually, I'm just gonna post on the Discord. I should do that anyway. It's not too late.
Nah.
There are no rules. As it turns out, there actually are no rules.
There's very few rules. There's definitely rules, but there's very few.
Yeah.
It's mostly don't talk about Nomu, I think is the new rule, but other than that,
Man, the Nomu memes, it's so typical, isn't it? It's so typical to see like a fan favorite character who like everyone is quick to point out his flaws, but nobody wants to admit the fact that sometimes you just get zapped by 2 attacks.
Yep, fair. Or sometimes you need to commit yourself on, turn 1 to pass a great foundation that you really want to get played, and then take 35 damage in one turn from an Asui.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen more often than I care to admit.
Like, do I think Asui's going to do 35 damage as often as Nomu can do 20? No. Do I think Sue has just as much capacity to kill Nomu in one turn as Nomu does to kill her? Yes.
Yeah, 100%. Yep. It is a battle to see who draws the nuts first.
Yeah, it's a lot of times in this game it comes down to checks as well, and I think Nomu actually doesn't suffer from that as much.
I definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say I think one of the main things when it comes to Nomu is that he actually. I'm gonna adjust my camera a little bit while we still have 0 viewers. I'm gonna see if I can.
Good. Yeah.
I just realized I've got like my name covering half my shit. Let me. Which one's my video capture? There we go. And if you want me to scooch you up a little bit, I can do that too.
Wherever you feel that
All right.
This is yours. I'm here for the ride, buddy.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like it all seems very simple until it's not, right?
Yes. I 100% agree with you on that.
Like everything I learn, I'm like, wow, how did I not figure that out? And then I sit there for hours trying to figure out something even simpler. All right,
yeah, I'm still trying to figure out my camera should be in 60 frames per second, and my camera is 100% like 4 frames per second right now. I don't know what's going on.
All right. Here we go. All right. Hey, chat. We got viewers in the chat. Welcome back. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Orange Card, Blue Card podcast. We are officially getting started. I apologize for the slight delay. My cat decided that the perfect time to run inside and hop up in my window was right when I was doing the sound check, right when I was trying to get everything set up. So we are a little bit late, but I thank you very much for joining me today and joining my wonderful guest, Linoko, Judge Extraordinaire Linoko.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well,
Judge that exists,
Well, I imagine most of the people in the community are at least familiar with you, Linoko, but if you would like to introduce yourself for the stream, for the chat, go ahead and do so, please.
Yeah, my handle's Linoko. My actual name is Guile. I stream occasionally now that my computer's fixed over at Linoko over on Twitch. And there's some YouTube videos from some old tournaments that I used to run over on YouTube for Linoko as well. Other than that, though, for the most part, I'm just one of the regulars in the community. I'm not anything really too special or anything like that. I just try and help out as much as I can. And every once in a while, get asked to come on crazy podcasts and give us the hottest takes of the week. So I'm 100% here to do that for y'all right now.
Well,
also, number 1 Mineta stan, I guess, is technically the correct answer now. But, I like sticky balls. Don't clip that.
Every character's got to have somebody, right?
Facts.
I appreciate you for joining me, man, and I appreciate not many people probably know this, but you did help me out with the Winnabox tournament that I ran. You helped judge that and run all the tables. So I'm immensely thankful for that. I truly believe that every community needs volunteers. They need people who are active at every level, right? Not just in an official capacity, not just people who have, for lack of a better term, like something to gain, right? Like it's their business, right? So I definitely am deeply appreciative for everything you've done for me, at least within the community, but also just for being an active member.
Hey, you're welcome on that. Like, it's something I really, actually, 100% honestly enjoy, you know. And I'm not gonna be someone here who's gonna run a store. I mean, I've got a box full of trades that I should put up on the Facebook post, and I'll get around to it. Maybe, I don't know, someday. But like the thing that I like the most is that making sure that other people have a good time playing something that I enjoy. So I do my best to try and help on the backstage stuff and the behind the scenes, behind the curtain, so that way everyone can enjoy the just sitting down at a table, knowing everything's running smoothly, and just getting to enjoy the game. So
I love that. I love that a lot. A big thing for me with community is involvement. When it comes to games, I just want people to play. I'm not much of a collector myself. I'm not much of a flipper. Like, cards aren't really like an investment to me. Like the anxiety of like trying to get my money back from a card that just became useless in other card games.
yep.
Is like one of the worst. Or like trying to hedge your bets, right? Like trying to figure out, oh, what's the next ban list gonna look like? And I think that the number one thing that's really like kept me in this community is I think everyone's just here to play. Like, everyone is focused mostly on getting people involved one way or another.
100% agree with you. Like the rapid growth of the game and just how many people are finding out about UVS, strictly even just because of the IP. Like, I never knew this game existed until I was told about it from a friend of mine, Restart Gaming. He was like, "Hey, you like anime, and they have Mineta," and I'm like, "I'm already in. All right, let's go. As long as the game has a baseline decent, I'm in." And
So
yeah, no, I've had an absolute blast. I'm very bad at playing this game, but I love playing the game.
if it makes you feel any better, I'm gonna adjust this a little bit. If it makes you feel any better, I think most people are actually really bad at playing this game in general. Like even the best players are bad in like a general sense because a lot of this comes from experience.
Oh yeah.
I think when you look at the mechanics of the system and you look at like the decision trees you have to make compared to other games, I think it's pretty difficult to put a decision one way or another. I think most players recognize that you have a decision you have to make and you can't know if it's good or bad yet. And compared to a game, oh, if you hear the squeaking, that's the cat. I don't know if you guys can see him. He decided, oh, not on the keyboard, not on the keyboard, not on the keyboard.
Time to type in chat, cat.
Hopefully, here, I'm gonna put him on screen just for a second. Let me see if you guys can see. There's the cat.
Oh, that's Kitty.
That's the buddy. He wants to ruin everything. He's directly on the keyboard. So if we stop streaming, you know who to blame, everybody.
Great podcast content. Just make sure you're watching the video over at twitch.tv/acemaneuvers.
Yeah, that's my buddy Monk. I've wanted to get him on screen for a minute. He actually ran in during the provisional broadcast, and I know everybody likes cats, but my table is very squeaky, so every time he moves, it's going to squeak. This is the least professional podcast I've done yet.
Yeah, that's the best kind of podcast, though. Like, I mean,
I think so. I think cats are wonderful.
I've definitely seen some podcasts that are like suit and tie production in the back, and they have the earpiece underneath their headsets, and I'm like, okay, this is fine. And then you get to the great podcasts where people are, just enjoying themselves, having a beer, just talking with their friends. I'm like, that's the podcast I want to be on. That's the one right there.
Yeah, the podcasts I really like are the ones where you get everybody in the same room. There's a couch. There's, it's got more of like a talk show feel almost. But,
yeah.
The world being the way it is and like just the cost to travel, like it's actually amazing that I can sit here and digitally just talk to you, and I think that's also super cool.
Yeah, and it honestly feels like that, we're in the same room together. It's not like we're on a phone anymore. Like,
yeah.
So
I
mean, I could play a game of cards against you whenever you want.
I love that. I've been like the COVID thing was a secret blessing for me because I'm so focused on just being a player, right? Like it just accidentally connected me to a whole community of people who wouldn't have had a reason to go out of their way to play digitally otherwise.
Yep. It has expanded the meta immensely because now not only do you have your own local gaming scene meta, you now have the webcam meta, which is a completely different beast, and it has so many players with so many different ideas and play testing, and there's always someone playing this game. Somebody's always in the lab working on something, some combo, some right ratio of attacks to foundations to actions to make it work. And there's you can definitely see the amount of time and effort people put into this game. Always, like,
Yeah, the Daniel Nelson interview from the last provisional, the one he did with Tamron Cardwell, I should say. It's not from the provisional stream, but the winner interview that Tamron Cardwell did, Daniel talked about how he would watch his replays for hours, like 10 times, 15 times, and that was just like that astounded me. Like I love the dedication and I love the effort and things like that, but and it may just be because I've played for so long, but it seems like to me that like I've watched back my tapes, I watch back my games too, but I watch them back like once and I go through and I'm like, okay, I know why I did this and I now know why I should look out for something else. And I'm wondering if I'm just, either not seeing things or if I'm so entrenched in the game, I'm so experienced that I trivialize things. Because going back to what we were talking about earlier, like you have decisions that you have to make, and you know that there's not necessarily a right one. You can't just play around one win condition. You can't just answer one card. You can't just say, oh, if I can do this by a certain turn, then I'm in a good position. The game swings back and forth so immensely, and like I have personally come to terms with the fact that I cannot make a perfect decision tree. I cannot make a perfectly informed decision in every game. And I think people get turned off by that. I think people hear that and they think I'm saying you can't be good or you can't be smart or you can't make the right choice. I just think that there is never a 100% choice.
No, I would completely agree with you on that. 100% with that. I don't think that there is ever a point, even if you had perfect information, even if you looked at your opponent's hand, know exactly what they have, and can see all of the puzzle pieces out on the table ready to go, there is no way that you can 100% know your best move and how to counter your opponent's best move in the same action with this game. Mm-hmm. Now, there's definitely some things that are, like, much more apparent. Like, if I look at my opponent's hand, he only has a high block, and he's got a wall cling on the table. I'm pretty sure he's going to flip the wall cling so he doesn't take, 20,000 damage. But if it doesn't kill the guy, he might be like, what if I just don't, flip this? I save it for later. I take some health. The only health that matters is go from 1 to 0. And just, I'll just take it. And you don't know that. Mm-hmm. You can play out the entire turn around that, oh, he's going to flip that wall cling. Yep, they're going to flip that wall cling. She's flipping the wall. No flip wall cling. You're like, oh, I guess I play my next card that's going to get wall clinged. And you're like, okay, well.
Yeah, it's like, how many games have you played where your opponent's like, oh, I didn't expect that to hit, or oh, I didn't expect that, just casually through a game. Real quick, I'm going to say hi to Chris Bromley in the chat. We got unfun stuff popping up. Hey, what's up, dude? Thanks for joining us. But back on topic, the decisions you can make, and like hearing him talk about like just the small 1%er plays, and and really like looking back at poker, and comparing it to that, like I've had to remove myself from that mentality a lot because I end up losing any advantage I could have because the game, when your opponent plays that zero gravity lift, right? Like Ochako plays a zero gravity lift. The amount of information you have, like her first card of the turn, the amount of information you have is almost nothing.
Basically.
You can assume it's going to go to momentum. There's almost no reason for it not to. And then after that, she can play 6 more fucking attacks because it's going to clear her card pool too, right? Like she can keep reducing that difficulty. Or you're going to
She doesn't play with progressive difficulty. It doesn't exist for her.
yeah. Like the air decks just kind of get to ignore that part of the game, and that's cool. That's its identity. And because of that, like against other decks, you can say, okay, well, they're going to have this one progressive, and then my breaker matters this much, or my block matters. But like blocking that zero gravity lift, you're like, okay, I can block 3 damage here. At what point in this turn can that card that is going to block this 3 damage be used to block more than 3 damage? And the answer is probably on any other fucking attack.
Yep.
So you are in such a bad position, and Ochakos get away with that 6 free damage almost as often as All Might gets away with the hardened chop damage, I feel.
Yep.
Because blocking that first one feels so bad, but it can be such a big deal later on in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and it's funny that you actually talk about the block stuff too, because Tam just put out today a great video on basically how and when to block. And that video, like, made me have to rethink my blocking style too, even though I'm more of a defensive player. Like I want the game to go to turn 15, 20. That's my style. Like I'm very happy winning game 1 and going to time. Like I'm okay with this is fine. I'm a bad person, it's okay. I like Mineta. I have auto stun anytime you block, it's great. But knowing when to block is almost as important in this game as knowing when to attack. And it's a very much, as you said, a poker state mentality in that regard. You really have to know when to hold them, when to go through and be like, okay, I need to turn the aggression off right now so my next turn has a better aggression. Mm-hmm. Or if I use all 6 of these attacks and he blocks the last one, my math is off, I don't kill him, and I now have no hand to block it, and I just die next turn. So it's a lot of dynamic decision making, even if it doesn't look like it to people on the who are just like watching a game. There's so many just little pieces going here, there. It's like it's the meme of the person with like the math going over their head, like
yeah, the Da Vinci math or whatever.
That's it, yeah.
And
that's every turn. That's almost every enhance. You're like, all right, I guess it's the best play, maybe, sorta, no, sure.
Yeah, I watched that video today just before we got in touch, a couple hours ago, and that's like the perfect example video for me because I went into it trying to be unbiased, right? Like trying to just have like a blank slate, but I kind of knew once he started talking about it that it was going to be something that I've already compartmentalized. And it's one of those things where I'm so far to the end point. Like his final points, were like the bullet points were like you can block when it's lethal, block when it's advantageous to you, like and those 4 bullet points are like already where I'm at. So I can take the rest of that thought process for granted, right? And so it's kind of difficult for me to ingest like a lot of the more learning material, even though a lot of that stuff is really good to have as a primer. Like if you've done any competitive gaming, any kind of competition, you can know that you need to only block when it's advantageous for you. You can know which ones are lethal, blah, blah, blah. But the difference between knowing that and having someone coach it, have it at the top of your head, having it as something you don't have to actually think about, it's something that someone has brought up for you, is really underrated. I don't think a lot of gamers, I don't think a lot of people who do mental challenges really understand that stuff. And coming from the fighting game community, I didn't understand that at first at all. I thought, you have like character matchups, like it's very rigid in fighting games. The randomness is definitely different. And so you can go in and you can say this button beats this button. Rock, paper, scissors is a huge part of fighting games, right? And it blew my mind that coaching was a thing. I'm like, how does this guy, come into the game and not know his he's I know he's done the matchup, right? So what help could some other person telling him stuff be? And the fact that it is someone else doing the work for you matters so much. The fact that it is someone else taking on that burden to 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 do the math essentially, right, for you, and to just pick out the ones that are really important and bring those to the forefront, that puts that into your system zero, we'll call it. Like you have your system zero, which is your automatic, your basic. Oh, I see a gravity lift, I play it on a 5, right? I see, I'm Ochako, I can bank that for later. There's like almost no risk, right? Like if they wall cling it, good. That's a wall cling I had to play around anyway, right?
Yep.
So I really underestimated how important it is to discuss the game with other people, and just how to have other people bring that knowledge to you for free, like for no mental tax on you.
Yeah, by far. Like and it goes the same thing we were saying earlier about going to the lab and just working on your deck and your style like that. Like, you're saying that you came from fighting games. I came from card games, but very different ones than this. Like, I didn't stick with. I've played a little bit of Magic. I've played a little bit of Pokemon. I've watched the Yu-Gi-Oh anime because GX was good and everything else is terrible. Don't at me.
Wait, hold up. No, we gotta talk about this because I have a. Hold up, we gotta stop because this is my podcast and I have a special place in my heart for GX. I have a special place in my heart for the Yu-Gi-Oh anime in general, but GX is like the most controversial point for the anime, I think, because a lot of people either think it's the worst or they think it's the only one worth watching.
I love the memes of card games on motorcycles. Don't get me wrong. Like I watch 5Ds for the memes, but oh no, GX is a heartwarming story of how a young, youthful, energetic kid gets punched in the face by the real world repeatedly until he's just like, "This sucks. I guess I go back in time to find what fun is." There you go. That's GX in a nutshell.
I go to space to find out what friendship is. No, the GX anime, I feel like I guess it's important too. Subs or dub?
I mean, well, we never got the final ending, and that was dubbed because
right.
4Kids has only done 2 good things. They've done 3 good things right in their life. I'll tell you about the 3 good things that 4Kids has done later. But like, for the first season, sub, dub for the rest of it.
Okay, yeah. The for me, the dub was so hard to watch when it came out, and then I tried to watch it recently this last year, 2021, and the dub was just killing me. And as soon as I switched to the subtitles, I started to fucking love it, because the dub after season 1, or for throughout season 1, the dub is trying so hard to pander to children while also bringing like the formal like card game rules and stuff. And I'm like, just give me the rules. Like the subtitle just gives you like the rules and doesn't dive into the lore too much. Like they're just like, it's a shadow game. You know what a fucking shadow game is. And it cuts like all the goofy jokes out. And so once I switched to the sub, I really liked GX. And once I started reading about the dual composer, who's recently done a bunch of interviews, or at least like it's hitting the YouTube algorithm if it's not super recent. But if you get a chance, check those out. I wish I could remember his name, but just you can look up like Yu-Gi-Oh! Dual composer, and he talks about how the GX duels were like his favorite. Like those are like some of his favorites to design, and it really shows. Like you watch the first season, season 0, season 1, whatever, like the Duelist Kingdom, Battle City, the Yugi Moto season. It's all really cool because it's about card games, but they haven't fleshed out the rules or how any of the fucking cards work. Yu-Gi-Oh! GX was really cool because it was like, this is like what the decks actually play like. And you could see that now that they had like figured out the game and printed out multiple sets, like metagames, blah, blah, blah. You could see the dual composer really took that and ran with it.
I'm fighting with your chat right now, by the way. Don't mind me. Um, uh, Greg,
Greg
Abby, me, and
Abbey,
you.
as you say, was terrible. I'm
It,
sorry.
I won't go so far as say it's terrible. It's watchable, but it's not one of the three things that 4Kids did right. Four Kids did the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reboot. That was absolutely fantastic. Good on them. The second thing that they did right was that they went and bought the rights to Chaotic, and instead of like making an anime and shoehorning it to what they needed for the audience, they're just like, we're just gonna buy this card game, make our own anime so it fits the rules, and don't worry about having to like redub the mass murder of people playing Yu-Gi-Oh. And the third thing was they gave King Dedede a southern accent.
I think I remember that.
Kirby right back at you is chef's kiss, perfection. Nothing wrong in that entire show. It's great.
Real quick, thank you, Hatiaro, for the... I'm probably butchering that. Hatiaro? How do you say it? You'll have to tell me later. But thank you for the follow. Thank you, Mr. Sardonic91 for the follow. We hit our follow goal, 20 people, so we're slowly climbing up here on Twitch. We're getting the grassroots movement going, so thank you guys for the support. I wanted to mention that before I forget. That's one thing I'm going to have to get better about. While I love like the podcast interview style discussion, I do want to make sure that I am, interacting with the chat.
Of course, yeah. Whenever something pops up, feel free to interrupt me. No worries. I totally got off on a tangent about how GX is the best anime that Yu-Gi has ever had. I come from games that don't actually have like a core like fighting mechanic. I come from Keyforge, which is all about controlling the board. And if you guys never played Keyforge before, every single monster that you play down has two actions. They can either fight another monster and deal damage and control the board, or they can give you a point towards your win condition. And that's the only thing monsters really can do. They have some effects here and there, but like it's very much a board state control game. And then the other game that I came from was Android Netrunner, which was asymmetric. So you had your corporations, which would build up server walls. It's cyberpunk themed. And you had runners who hacked into those servers, and the points to win the game only exist in the corporation deck. And the corporations have to protect their points until they can build them out, or the runners can just go and be like, thanks for the points, G.
Yeah, yoink.
So it's kind of weird for me to come into a game that has a more traditional competitive aspect, while still having all of the like knobs and dials and rock, paper, scissors that I'm used to with the other games. So it like just brings a little bit of everything going through. And again, going back to that there's so many decision makings that are dynamically happening through the entire turn that your perspective and your experience is going to change how you want to turn those dials and push those buttons. And the best way to get better with that experience is 100% going in the lab, playing the games, pick one or two styles you want, and just grind those styles into a pulp. And I think that's going into our licensing exam. You're going to see the people who are in the lab the most are going to be the ones that will rise to the top.
Yeah, and I think that's a really cool thing about our game. When it comes to the big three, it's just such a controlled environment, I feel. It's such a manicured, sterilized environment, because the most important thing for them is that there is a not static, but there is like an expectation of the experiences of millions of people, and that is so difficult to manage, and I understand it. But at the same time, you can coach me for like 15 minutes, at least on like a specific deck matchup in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon or Magic the Gathering, and I feel confident that I can, go 50-50 over some time with a relatively average experienced player. I feel like you can, when it comes to Magic Arena, I'll sit down, I'll do maybe 20 minutes of research, I'll net deck somebody, and I'll go, what are the most important cards in this format? Like, what are the most important cards of each deck? And if I have a counter spell or a removal, I can get like a 50-50 win rate at worst just from focusing on that one interaction. And that gets really stale really fast. It's really
Yep.
disheartening. And that's only true for the competitive format. So like every game like lives and dies on its casual formats. And I think the most beautiful thing about the My Hero card game and most of the card games I've really enjoyed is that the casual format and the competitive format are close together. They're very similar. I'm not going to say you can just bring your fun deck to a tournament and go crazy, but we've seen the diversity in deck builds. We've seen the diversity in the builds between the same character and how many characters. And I think that this game really at its core rewards you for experience. It rewards you for playing it, for putting yourself in those positions and learning what expressions your opponent has. How greedy is your opponent, right? How willing are they to block certain attacks? What kind of things upset them in the mental game? And I just don't get that from any major card game. And I don't get that from any other card game that has a community. The card games that I really enjoy that are like that are long dead and gone, and it takes a day or two to schedule a game on a Discord. And so I just feel very lucky and fortunate to have found this game and been involved with it as long as I have, only because it has me coming back. It has a community that cares. It has that emergent gameplay, and it has stayed alive. Whereas a lot of the other games I've really enjoyed, they're just a flash in the pan, or they're focused on margins and getting making sure they're not losing money. And you just see, like, you just clearly see like a cash out towards the end. Most of the games I really love excuse me, most of the games I really love got revamped at one point. They got completely overhauled. They changed the names of card types. They changed the rules mechanics as like a last ditch effort to try some, to bring in a new audience. And instead it really just kills it for everyone else. So those are the games that rewarded me for playing them, and then they killed my ability to play them, right? This is a game that rewards me for playing it, and it only gives me more reasons to try new things every time I play it.
Oh, by far. I get done playing against somebody, and I want to know what that deck is. Like, I may not play that deck. I may look at that deck, look at the deck list, and go, okay, that's a cool interaction here, and never touch it again because it's not my play style. But man, I want to know how that deck ticks. And that's something that really pulls me into like the style of game, is because it's why I love the rules so much with this too, is because getting to see how X plus Y interacts with Z plus X, it's such a neat, like, I don't want to say blossoming, because I can't say that there's infinite potential in this game. There eventually will be. We're going to get more and more cards that are coming out. And
there is a one diff infinite potential in this game. That is correct.
I mean, we don't. Standard doesn't exist. As a My Hero Academia player who came into this game because I like sticky balls, anime guy. Standard? I mean, I saw a Mortal Kombat card once. A friend of mine has an Ivy from Soul Calibur deck that beats me every single time because it's busted and I hate it.
Man, that's so funny because Ivy was considered like a useless character. Not like bad, but just like strictly worse. Like one of the few things I think that Standard gets kind of a bad rap for, or like people assume but isn't really true, is Jasco doesn't print strictly worse cards. At least not very often. They'll print a power creeped version of a card, but they won't print a strictly worse version after something, right? And it's easy because they put two abilities on everything, so you can have like a redundant worse ability, but then a second ability, so it's a different card, right?
Yeah.
But some characters do often feel like I could just be this character. That was like a common thing in Standard. And Ivy was one of those characters that people were like, oh, just be more proactive, just do this. And then Tamron Cardwell took one of the shittiest looking deck lists I've ever fucking seen to a tournament and like went all the way to grand finals, I think, of like a Standard tournament. And I'm looking at the list, I'm like, how the fuck do you play this? And the answer is it's all responsive. It's all reactive. It's all based on your knowledge of the card pool, your knowledge of your opponent's deck. And like looking at the list, you're like, where do I start? And you start on your opponent's turn.
Yep.
You know?
Or you also play like Tam Cardwell and check a 2, turn 1, and go third. So thank you for the random checks in the decks. That also like really helps the game like stay alive too, because unlike other games, I know how much resources I have on the field right this second. I know I can spend 2 or 3 resources of X, here, and still have some for later. Not a big. This one, I don't know if I'm checking a 1, a 5, a 7. I don't know. Let's see what I get. Oh well, that's not what I wanted. Okay.
Yeah, a big part of the game is the push your luck element. And that's tough for a lot of people, especially like old head card gamers who a lot of people feel safety in like how manicured their formats are. And for a while with 10 sets in standard, with so many characters, with so many good cards, towards the end, I was feeling kind of overwhelmed, especially with the diversity rule where it's like, we've always kind of felt like you have to be prepared for everything. And then we got to a point where you can't prepare for everything. We got to a point where there's so many powerful cards and so many powerful decks that you can't prepare for every type of defense. You can't prepare for every offensive threat. And I really wanted that smaller format. I wanted to feel like I was making meta calls, I wanted to feel like I was playing specific cards for specific reasons. And that might be the one thing our game kind of lacks is that there's not many silver bullet cards, but it's tough to do that in a game where you build around a leader, where you build around a character. Because as soon as you silver bullet out a character, people perception wise, like we were just talking about with Tam's deck, where it's like you look at it on paper and you start at ground zero and you're like, okay, what do I do? Oh, I get fucked by one card. I'm not gonna play this character. What if I run into that one card?
Exactly. Yeah.
So while I would love certain silver bullets for strategies I hate, you're probably not, in My Hero at least, gonna see silver bullets for characters. You're gonna see.
Agreed.
I do think they finally printed a cancel that cancels a character ability. I want to say it's the 2-check punch. It's the All Might Tutor. Oh man. Oh no! It's the Gran Torino promo.
I was gonna say the only one I can think of is the Gran Torino one, not All Might.
It's the 4-diff 2-check, and it's like response, remove it from the card pool, cancel responsibility. And I think that
I have
one
the power of UVS Ultra and animate. I saw it. Give me 1 second.
Ooh, good call. I can't do that because I have a cat on my keyboard.
That's fine.
He's still here, by the way. For those of you who have been tuning in the whole time, we still got Mr. Monk on the keyboard, and no. That's not a musician in my band. That is the cat who is threatening to delete my live stream at any moment. A little sneeze, a little cat dream, and we might be offline.
No, so the one you were thinking of, it was the Taiyaki Fanatic. That it does not a character. That's
no. The attack.
Oh,
it's a 4-diff 2-check attack. It might not be on Ultra, but it is a response, I believe, from the card pool. You remove it from your card pool to cancel a responsibility.
Oh, no, I know. Okay, yeah, it's in the promos there. Yeah. I don't think it's been uploaded yet.
Yeah, so that one...
no, I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, but depending on that one, it might be character, non-character, right? And so when it comes to... If it does cancel a character ability...
we also have Eraserhead, too. What are we talking about? We have a character who literally erases characters.
That's one character, and that's his gimmick, though.
Yeah.
And he doesn't... He's not a silver bullet still because he only affects abilities during the attack. So it's the kind of thing where if you had if you had a Taiyaki Fanatic in your stage and it canceled a character enhance, then characters who have once per turn enhance abilities automatically become weaker, right? Characters with once per turn responses might get hosed by the tutor punch. It's seriously called like old man tutor punch or some shit. But the 2-check attack that I'm talking about, the punch that cancels a response, it's the kind of thing where if you block with that, you can cancel Ochako's once per turn response. And so all of a sudden, that character now has to not only play around a hand trap, but you can essentially one for one their entire character as long as you keep drawing it.
Great. Or have a way to recur it too.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's the other thing. Ochako almost has to force you to use it because if you get it into your discard pile or if you keep drawing it, if you recur it, then it's the kind of thing where she really will wish that she just made you remove it from the game for cost. Yeah. Okay. Mentor, Legacy Punch, and its non-characters. Okay. Good. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't think my hero is gonna see too many cancels for character abilities, and if you do, it will probably be like an infinity symbol foundation or action that only cancels a character ability, like concentrate that only hits a character ability, right?
I can see. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'd like that as an infinity symbol. I could see it definitely being an infinity symbol because every deck wants to have that kind of thing. But I don't know if I want that on an infinity. I don't think I want every single deck to have access to it unless it's like, specifically says like 1 per deck or 2 per deck or something like that. I don't. Four of those in every single deck, I feel like it's almost as good as Plus Ultra at that point. Like, Plus Ultra is still the best block in the game. Yeah, you don't get to use it with your new shiny Set 2 characters for the Enhance. I'm still going to run 4 Plus Ultras as soon as I get 4 Plus Ultras in every deck that I've ever built. Yeah. Because that block is nuts. I'm just like, okay, cool, make it as fast as you want. And no.
It's very tough.
Yeah.
It's very tough because the design space of the infinity symbol makes sense. And if you say we need this powerful staple ability, right, like that makes sense that everyone should have access to it. But as a thought process, I hate the infinity symbol. Like from again, like it's one of those things that makes sense. It's one of those things that naturally it would happen. Like Magic has colorless, almost every game that has colors has colorless, right? Like every game that has a symbol has an omni symbol. And so it's one of those things where it's going to happen. It's going to come up. It's going to be part of your design philosophy. But from a holistic standpoint, I don't like it. Much in the same way, I don't like Mei Hatsumi removing 4 cards from her deck at the start of the game. It works.
Oh boy, you guys want a hot take. I think Mei Hatsumi is not that good.
No, she's fucking garbage.
I wouldn't go that far.
She's legitimately one of the worst characters in the set, I think. She doesn't get started until turn 3. And every Mei Hatsumi I've played against has bricked turn 2. Every single one. I have never...
She is so dependent on 2 things. One, you want a super slim and sleek deck for her. Because you want to take advantage of removing 4 cards out as soon as you can.
Yeah, just so like your deck Razorhead.
Your deck is just thin on margin. And 2, you're power 5-hander until turn 3, turn 4. Like at turn 3, you're basically online. You're going at that point. You've got things, but your turn 1 and turn 2 is build 4 pass. Okay, hope I survive. Oh wait, I'm dead.
I've played against every symbol on Mei Hatsumi now. Every single time I've ever played against it, they bricked on turn 2, or they checked a 3 to play their first attack and just lost the game from that point. Because she removes from game and because she pulls from her remove from game, there's no real counter to her. Like you can't permanently get rid of her asset. I do think there might be a card that flips an asset now, and so that will be like the best way.
I do know there's something that flips assets. Also, she actually loses to President Mike 1. The only character President Mike 1 is good against, because he gets a free +1 speed immediately at the start of the game. It's great. He's like, this is...
Sorta. I don't know.
I'm not a coaster!
But, yeah, so I feel like she's just got like a rough time. So like holistically, when I first read the go through your deck and remove 4 cards from the game, that just seemed hackneyed. It seemed forced. And when it comes to the design space of card games, nothing's like off limits. but I hate the remove from game pile being part of the game. I absolutely hate it.
I don't mind it, and here's why. I get what I 100% get what you're saying, and I agree with you that the remove from game shouldn't have much access on the game. But I'd rather send 4 cards out of the game at the start of the game and do their own little pile that you can pull from, than search through the deck and shuffle 4 times in the game, because my time is worth more than you shuffling 4 times.
Oh, absolutely. Searching your deck and then shuffling is like a big no-no. Like anytime you can avoid that, absolutely.
I don't mind you putting things in an out of game pile that exists there to speed up my process. That I'm fine with. 100% agree with. I definitely see where you're going, where you don't want things to like interact with the remove from game. But like minor things like present Mike's thing is okay because it's just counting the cards. Yeah. But like using it as another resource tool, 100% agree with you.
Yeah, like at that, like if you're gonna have a remove from game pile and interact with it, 2 things need to happen. One, you have to have a name for it. It can't be called the removed from game pile. If you call it the banish pile or the exile pile or the whatever pile, it's still part of the game. It is its own pile. And that is such a stupid thin line, like a thin hair to split. But that's part of how I feel, because once you name it something, it has a flavor and you can build around that flavor. The exile flavor from Magic the Gathering was cool at first. It made sense with gods who are indestructible on Amonkhet, and they fucking threw that all out. They defenestrated the whole fucking mechanic by making everything exile temporarily, and they made shit that exiles and, you know, like phasing is different from exiling, and then there's cards that effectively phase but they just exile for a turn, and now we have phasing back again, and like none of it fucking makes sense to me anymore. Like the flavor is not that, like you can literally have a character from their lore doing the same action, and now on cards mechanically it is represented differently and the cards interact differently. And that kind of shit to me is like just a total like top-down flavor fail. But if you name it and it's part of the game, that's fine. If it is called the removed from game pile, the second issue that comes up with it is how do the judge ruling of this card needs to be removed from the game now becomes very silly, because you have to say it's super removed. You now have to say take this out of play. You now have to say something other than remove it from the game. You know, I really hate the idea that I have to, that a judge has to go, okay, well, you checked this card out of order, so we're going to remove it from play, but it also doesn't count towards anything, when it's like it shouldn't count towards anything. It's fucking removed from the game. It is, there is a game, and this has been removed from it, yet it is still part of it.
It's definitely a flavor thing. Like I don't mind that so much. Like I'm not 100% not disagreeing with you on this. Like 100% you are correct on this. But it comes into that what is a name kind of thing. Like it's
again,
and
it's a
you're
thin
100%
hair
right
to
with the
split.
judge zone too. Like how do I tell someone to remove a card from the game when they do, if a card falls on the floor or something like that? I'm like, you gotta put it in your binder. Like
You gotta super remove it. And then
it's the judge. I get the judge zone now. Like, where's the old Yu-Gi-Oh Judgment? I need my face on the Judgment card. No, don't do that. Oh gosh, that was a terrible idea.
I think one of the worst cases I've ever seen too was a guy got a warning for checking a card or something, and they're like, okay, super remove it, so it's not part of the game. And they're like, okay, cool. They go through, they play. And then game 2 goes through, and halfway through game 2, the guy's like searching his discard pile or searching. He's like, man, I haven't checked this card yet, whatever it was. And then they look over and they go, oh, your thing is in your box. Your card that you super removed is not, you didn't shuffle it back. Why? Because you had to remove it from the remove from game pile. You had to keep it separate from all the things that you have now kept in track in play. And then they're like, okay, well, this is like an escalating warning now. Because you've not only did the check out of order, you've now not put the card back into your deck. So, like, this person is now either getting a game loss, depending on the judge, depending on the rules times. I don't know what happened there, right? But now this person's either getting a game loss or they're, like, on the precipice of a game loss. And it's all because they had to they had to deal with rulings that, again, like just in my opinion, again, it's still mostly a flavor thing, but it came from a ruling that obfuscated like how the game is tracked. If you have no cards that care about remove from game, you can just say put it in your remove from game, and then all the effects that remove from game, all my cards are together. Again, and again, going back to before, when you design a card game, you use all the space available to you. So of course, remove from game is a thing. Remove from game is super thematic with Sugar Rush with Rikido Sato. Like that could be a very thematic thing, but
yeah, eats the sugar, it's gone. It's in his belly.
Yeah, well, and like his whole thing is that like he has to burn up that energy, right? Like he has to go through that resource. So
yeah.
Same thing with Dobby. Like Dobby burns himself up, so he's like gonna mill out faster. Blah blah blah. I get all that. I really wish that there was like a better way to handle it, and like designing like everyone. I think every card gamer has like a pocket design for their own card game, and so it'd be foolish to think that if you wanted to design a card game for 10, 15, 20 fucking years, you're not going to reference the remove from game pile.
Yeah. It is play space that is on the table that is available for a mechanic.
Yeah.
Whatever mechanic you decided to want to be.
And as soon
but
as
you're 100% right. The name is weird.
Yeah. And as soon as you make a card that removes other stuff, you've now given a mechanic. You've now said in your game things can remove stuff, right? So you've now said these are the, like with the exile, like there's specific flavorful things that exile in Magic, and so now you can play with that expectation of that mechanic. And I think that's what people really like to see the most. They like to see the things that they like expressed in a card game form, in a mechanic. And when you have a blank slate like Magic, that's super easy. But I think that the Universus fighting system, if you want to, I wish we could just call it the Universal Fighting System, which is used in Universus, but I don't know how that would be too confusing. But I think the core mechanics of the My Hero Academia card game actually allow for that expression really well, like in almost every way.
Yeah, and you're seeing that with both casual games and all the high level play. Like you're very able to see how people want to play the game and play it successfully, no matter how terrible people give me names that I stuff their card pool with sticky balls. I mean, your card pool is there to be stuffed. Don't clip that either.
It is one of the least interactable zones. That's all. There's just so few characters.
No, it's very interactable. I put things in there, and it's a +1 progressive for the rest of the turn. It's great until I play against Mina 2, and I cry horribly. I'm so scared for Mina 2. I'm like, I love doing this thing. She's like, I love when you do that, and I'm like, oh. Oops.
I think Mina 2 might end up being the most played pre-release character.
I 100% hope that I can pull her at a pre-release.
Yeah.
I've already got slight spoilers. I already maybe might have a Mineta 2 XR coming to me when the date happens that they ship it.
They're waiting to open it, guys. They haven't opened it yet. They just know they're gonna get a Mineta XR eventually.
The box was opened. It's pre-recorded for YouTube. The YouTube video is set to go the day that they can put it up. The person 100% pulled them in an XR and was like, I don't want this to exist. Please take this. And I'm like,
you're ruining the magic, Lenoco.
Don't worry. It only depends on when they find it. Don't worry about it. Now you got to go look through all the videos to find who's going to give me a Mineta XR.
Right.
But yeah, like I 100% hope that I can pull. I don't even want to play Mineta for the pre-release. I want to play something ridiculous and crazy. I don't know, what are you hoping you pull at pre-release? Because I know you're definitely going to some pre-releases.
Real quick, I'll mention that actually, I don't think I can. That's the sad part. They're all happening around the regional, and Bunny is tight, and I have to focus more on testing for the regional, personally. So I don't know if I'll actually make it to a pre-release, which sucks, but it is what it is. It's just timing of life, really. It has nothing to do really with the timing of the pre-release and the regional. It has more to do with personal life stuff. But
understandable.
It is what it is. So but the thing is with it, when it comes to the pre-release, for Mina 2, she relies very heavily on her own cards. And the reason that's important for the pre-release is because you can have more than 4 copies of a card in your deck. If you draft 10 of her common and 10 of her uncommon, you can play all of them. And so because she requires cards that generate face downs for her, this is the time where you're going to have the most consistency around doing that. You're going to consistently have more face downs and more attacks that become face downs than I think you will have in constructed play.
Agreed. No, 100% agree with that. I also think for the pre-release, the new Sato is going to be really strong because you're going to be able to get quite a few of his attacks and just get that free speed. And you're like, all right. Or no, not Sato, Sero.
I was about to say.
Word. I saw that look in your face, and I'm like, I did something wrong here. Let me... Oh, there it is. Yeah, the new Sarah I think is going to be really strong in pre-release drafts, too. And I honestly hope that draft format becomes like an actual thing. I absolutely love the idea of a draft format for this game. Like, it is not designed for it in any way, shape, or form. I will 100% say that. But man, a draft format, like... If I had an extra, a couple $100 lying around, I would 100% buy like a set cards, and like make cube drafts for like set 1 and set 2 because they just seem absolutely fun.
One of the things I really wanted to do is set up draft cubes on Tabletop Simulator. We've got the technology to make draft packs, and someone I think has already coded all of it. It's just with the limited time that everyone has, it's like trying to get together a D&D game where. It getting the people together to just do like a custom draft is pretty difficult. But I love the idea of draft. And I will say, I think people might have the wrong impression. Like, obviously maybe not obviously, but they don't have as much of a focus on designing towards draft the way that Magic does because they don't want to print quote unquote useless cards for constructed. So because of that, like half the stuff in a Magic set are designed to only be good in draft and pretty much shitty everywhere else. Oh, hey, buddy, he's clawing me. But so because of that, it's not designed for draft, but I think that Magic the Gathering wants to create an environment, and I mean, they make specific packs for it, right? Like, I think Pokemon also has draft-specific product that you have to buy. And so... I
believe so now, yeah.
Yeah, so they're looking at, like, we want to give you the same gaming experience, but with the random deck building element, and, like, you need to flex certain deck building skills. And because of that, I suck at limited in Magic. Like, drafts on Arena, I have to have someone coach me. I have to go look up the channel Fireball, like, what's the best draft stuff. And that shit works really well. Like remember at the very beginning we talked about how I can study for 15 minutes and go like 50-50 in Magic. Yeah. And like when it comes to draft, like I can download fucking Overwolf, or I can just look at like a draft guide, and the difference between me drafting by myself and me drafting just with like the one article's worth of help is fucking phenomenal. And so, but I'm still getting the magic experience. I just need to have, I need to apply the right parameters to card evaluation. In this game, in My Hero Academia, the benefit of draft is it is a completely different game. The benefit of draft is that the rules on deck construction change, and you get access to all of the forbidden combos that you wouldn't normally have in constructed. So hopefully he didn't just stop the stream. My cat just hopped off.
He did not stop the stream, but he did put his butt right in the camera.
He refreshed my stream manager. So. Goodbye, Monk. So he could tell the stream's coming to a close. I was gonna put him on camera, but he's shy.
He's out.
But yeah, so anyway, back to the point. The draft in this game is a totally different game. And that's why I would want to see it take off. Not because I think that limited is particularly super fun, and I don't really love drafting personally. I fucking suck at it. but it is another way to play the game, and it allows me to play in ways I don't get to unless I draft. So if you get the chance to play sealed or you get the chance to play draft this weekend, absolutely take that opportunity. Draft one for me, because like I said, I don't think I'll be able to actually attend my pre-releases. They're happening Friday night and then Saturday in the afternoon. So if I O3 drop at the regional, I might make a pre-release actually.
Not allowed. No, if I got to be there for 12 hours, you're being there 12 hours with me.
Yeah, so hey, maybe I'll hop on commentary. Who knows?
Maybe.
But so if a Spear's watching, man, let me know. Hit me up. I had a lot of fun doing it last time.
Put me on the speed dial.
Yeah, the best thing about doing that, by the way, was that you have to do something first and be bad at it. You have to just do something to know where to improve. And so doing that was really cool. Now I'm excited. I want to do more commentary because I want to get better at it, and just practicing like by yourself for commentary is useful, but it feels very weird.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I've been on the Webcam Weekly a couple times just to, be on there and hang out and, provide some insight again as one of the newer players to the system. Mm-hmm. And it's always an absolute blast, and I very much enjoy it. I mean, it feels the same way like this. Like we're just, again, hanging out, talking about something that we love and care about and want to see grow. And it's such a good experience. Like the biggest takeaway that I can say overall, if you really want to see all sides of this game and help this game grow, take a step on the backside of the curtain every once in a while. I'm not saying, you don't have to be like me where I'm judging, every event that I can, because I absolutely love judging as much as I can. But come back and help out and judge one event. Take it back to your locals and, help run the tournament at your local setting. Take some time to set up a camera for your games at your local LGS and just record a couple games, take them back to your house and dub commentary over it. And all of these things that do behind the curtain stuff, background setting stuff, not actually playing, but still contributing, 100% helps the community grow. And it doesn't matter how small of a contribution. If you put one video of YouTube up of you playing a game or you break down one of your decks, that is going to help this community more than you possibly ever know. You're going to find someone who's going to look up, a crazy, ridiculous deck, and it's going to be your deck, and you're going to see it, take center stage one day, and it's going to be because you helped that person expand their horizons to the game in and of itself. And same thing with these podcasts. The fact that you take an hour, probably even more, because there's probably some post editing that has to go on too to get it up on podcast places.
The problem with that, the problem with that, I'll be honest. The problem with that is that to do what I'm used to, I'd have to download it first, which takes hours, and then export it. So I usually just export straight to YouTube, but I'm using the trim feature on YouTube to cut out the early parts where the sound fiascos happen and stuff. So
that's the best part.
Yeah, but it's just the sheer amount of time it takes to upload and download and stuff like that is a real concern. So and
it just shows how much you care about this community growing, that you're willing to take the time out to help others enjoy the content.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me when I went into it was knowing the community is small and knowing that what you might consider the normal payoffs for doing YouTube content, which is views and or money, was just really not the goal. I think the goal, especially going forward, it's getting harder and harder to maintain making money off YouTube or Twitch because it's being seen so much as that dream job, right? We're seeing so much of the anyone can do it. But you're finding out that being successful, traditionally economically successful at it, is something that just requires intangibles. It's something that really does require algorithms or a specific look or things that we've already known about society, but we just, it's just true, right? And there are exceptions to every rule. And so the big thing for me when I went into it was knowing that I would have a better appreciation for the people who I watch on YouTube. I would have a better appreciation for the people like Daniel Nelson who put in 15 hours of watching their replays. I'd have a better appreciation not just for content creators and for players, but for the people who run tournaments, running my own tournament. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. If you take a step back behind the curtain, not only, do you have the chance to help your community, but like at worst, if you have 0 views on your YouTube video, if you have 0 people sign up for your tournament, but you were 100% prepared to run it, at the very least, you walk away with a better appreciation for what it takes to, like, for me, like, it's so hard because there's so many aspects, like the content creation, the editing, the promotion. The promotion is the thing that's hardest for me. I hate feeling like I'm trying to sell people something. I hate when I feel like people are trying to sell something to me, because it is the time where, personally, right, this is just like my outview, this is like how my brain works before people clip it and say I'm calling everyone a fucking liar. It is the part of my brain where
Shills all of you.
Yeah, I got called a shill for the first time a week ago. It was fucking tight. I was like, man, I'm like the person who gets shit on for being negative and not chilling enough, right? Like, now I'm being called a fucking chill just because I talked to Blaff in the fucking Discord. So that was fucking
if talking to Blaff is the problem, I'm a sellout. I'm not even a shill anymore. Like,
yeah, like, I was like, bro, we're posting memes, like, anyway, like, it's just weird to be like, you're way too critical of Jasko, and then you're a shill for Jasko. It just shows the duality of man, right? So,
yep.
Yeah,
shill
economic
maneuvers.
We're making money moves, baby. But and that's a whole nother topic. I could probably kill an hour. I'll probably get you and Andrew in, and we'll do like a 3-way call to kill an hour.
Whenever you want, I'm here for it. You let me know. I'm here to happily be on this. This is an absolute blast being with you. So
I'll have to get the nice triangle set up. But so the point I'm trying to make is that there's so many different things to appreciate. There's so many things at the end of the day that it looks so simple. And it looks so easy, and a lot of it is at its core, but you get an appreciation for just how much time it takes. You get an appreciation for the kind of things you have to work through, like when you have people message you and say, oh, hey, I missed the deadline, can I still sign up? And it's like, not an easy position to be in, to tell people, no, there's rules and you have to follow them. Something I'm sure a judge can understand a lot, that you have to go, look, man, I'm not your friend right now, and that sucks. Or having the ability to accommodate people can be really empowering and rewarding. So like I said on the last podcast I did with Christopher Bromley, like, if you want to create content, if you want to do anything with your time, you just have to recognize what you're doing it for, and you have to make your goals realistic. You're not going to shoot up to thousands of viewers. You're not going to, like, for anything, like, not just our community, but you just have to recognize that my goal with this podcast was not to get 100 concurrent viewers. It's not really to make Twitch affiliate. It was to sit down and talk to someone who I appreciate from the community, who has given back to the community, and who can help, give the perspective that I might not have, or like with the coaching thing. I know I'm talking way too long, I'm rambling, but too many callbacks. But just like with the coaching thing from before with esports and with Tamron Cardwell, like, having someone else to carry the workload to say the obvious is so underrated. It is so underrated just to have another voice who can state the obvious for you.
And not only that, because perception is relative. The way that you see your game and how you play your game is going to be different from how your opponent sees it, and how a spectator sees it, and how commentators see it. And being able to not only just see your one train of thought, but going to all of those trains, like, that is something that is absolutely phenomenal, and something I think that this community as a whole does so well. Like, every single person that I've ever talked to on this game is so 100% genuinely passionate about the game in and of itself. And this is even going back to, like, people wanting standard to come back so hard. Like,
Yes.
I've played in a standard tournament. I lost every game. It was the greatest weekend of my life. It was fantastic.
I
Because
felt
I just got to see so much ridiculous things happening. I played a character that I was like, I read her mechanics. I was playing Devora. I was like, this is going to be a mechanic I'm probably never going to see in My Hero. Because it's
God,
very.
I hope not.
I hope
Holy
so.
fuck.
It's so good.
That fucking character would smoke My Hero. Like, she is not great in standard for a lot of different reasons, right? But like from a My
cannon.
Hero standpoint, like her power level, she's actually okay. It's weird because her damage bonus would be perfect for My Hero. Her ability to gain 4 life and get +4 to a check would fucking warp the format. She would be like Mina on steroids.
100%. Like but I was going to the cards because I wanted to play in the tournament, just to, have fun and play something ridiculous, not a big deal. And I read her effect, and I'm like, okay, she likes 4s. I'm in. That's it. That was it.
Just put all the cards you like with 4 on the damage box, and you're good to go.
I saw Pea Shooter and Hand Cannon, and I was sold. I'm like, all right, let's do this. Like,
That
lost
is
every single game. It was really bad. I found out what a reversal was very quickly. That.
Oh, you have 4 cards in your pool?
Do not bring reversals into this game. No.
Oh, come on. We need reversals. Reversals are actually...
Multiple's fine. Reversals bullshit.
See, that's so backwards. Reversal is fine. Multiple should be banned forever. Multiple just trivializes momentum use really badly.
There's a character called Twice.
You literally can't. There's a character called Ectoplasm who doubles up an attack too. So, I think a character like Dabby could never get access to a multiple, or else he just becomes the win 100%. Condition. But that's a discussion for another time. The standard.
What's standard? I'm sorry, that doesn't exist. I don't know.
No. I would love to. It's a Universus podcast. It's not a My Hero podcast. So we're wrapping up here, and that's a good segue. Yeah. I told myself if I could do this for 4 weeks in a row, and I believe we're now at the 3rd week, that I would do a second podcast, if you will. I would start up a second Twitch show. And so hopefully, as long as next week, fingers crossed, goes through, I am going to start up a My Hero Talkademia talk show where I'm going to go live for probably an hour or 2 on Twitch, similar in format to this, but it's going to be focused only on My Hero, and it's going to be focused on like very specific subjects. Like this is the bullshitting podcast. This is like the community outreach podcast. But so I'm excited to announce that hopefully all things going well, I'm going to be streaming 2 days a week. We're going to be having guests on My Hero Talkademia in and out. That one will probably be more of like a solo production. This will still remain like the conversational podcast. But that's definitely something I want to do in the future. And then as far as this session goes, I wanted to quickly, before we end, get two answers from you. One, who do you think is going to win the regional this weekend?
I have to show for Mineta as the Mineta stan. Mineta has never lost in my mind. He's always been there. He's always look. That counts.
That's undefeated, baby.
I'm undefeated in Magic. I've played 3 games, and they were both very good counterspell decks that I borrowed from a friend of mine. And those decks are worth more than my house. But that counts. I'm undefeated. 3 games. Never playing the game again. But no, in all honesty, I don't think that there's enough cards in the meta yet for a player to counter the hyper aggression. I think we're going to have, especially with it also coming out so closely to the provisional that we had, I think you're going to see a very close to what the provisional had in top 16. You're definitely going to be seeing Froppy. You're definitely going to be seeing Ochako. I don't think Denki's going to show up again because I think it was, I don't want to say one-trick pony, but as someone who plays Order Mineta, it's kind of a one-trick pony. I want you to tap all your foundations and hit you with one big attack and call it a day. Now that if you sit down in front of a Denki, you know not to do that.
Yeah. I think the Denki Enhance is a little underrated, like the threat of punishing the block, right? The targeted foundation. committal. However, the block step is so powerful right now that
Yes.
identifying the key blocks, when and where to block, and things like that, I think is going to be really important. And I think from rewatching those games and editing those games from the provisional at the Denki one, I think a lot of players have learned when and where to block now, which sounds kind of rude, but if you watch the games that you won against Eraserhead, they're very much about denying him momentum, and they're about denying him those early advantages he's trying to get. And so as soon as he gets an opening, he just turns that into an early game win condition off of the back of the air symbol's ability to ready cards and clear that card pool to ignore that element of the game. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Denki show up in top 16, but it does seem like a lot of stuff has to go right. So
Yeah.
as for me, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I wanted to just throw in there one more thing. I can't 100% say it because everything is gonna be crazy and everything changes in this game. I would not be surprised at all seeing Kamui Woods hit another top 16. I think it's gonna be the game plan of I win game one, install you out, and have the most boring time getting to top 16, and then just playing the best defensive game ever in the top 16 because there's no time limit. But if somebody's willing to sit there and play that boring game, I would not be surprised seeing Kamui Woods show back up in 15th, 16th seed, go, hey guys, I'm here, and then taking the whole tournament.
Yeah, all the Kamui Woods players I've known have really just sat down against a Sue and gone, wow, I am Sue but worse, which is what I've been saying since the fucking set released. So it would be kind of weird for me to see a Kamui Woods, but all the Kamui Woods I'm talking about were on the water symbol, and the Earth Kamui Woods does exist. Like, Kamui Woods putting damage on Earth attacks that you want to block is a real strategy. And
Better than Earth Nomu.
Yeah, and having having the extra damage reduction could matter a lot, right? So it will be interesting to see if Kamui Woods makes a resurgence, but I think he is kind of slotted into that Suyu but worse. And it does make sense that as time goes on, our format narrows a bit, right? And we saw that with the least diverse top cuts that we've had, but we still haven't had a repeat winner. And we still haven't had net decking take over the format. So I think it's still going to be like the wild, wild west. But a lot of people, myself included, have really gravitated towards Ochako. She doesn't have the necessity to pull the specific lines that Suyu seems to have. And she has that thick body to give her slightly better matchups around bad RNG. Like she can survive bad luck a little better than Froppy can. And the thing I like the most is I don't have to run a massive attack count. When I play the Frigid Heatwave Sue and I play the Water Sue, and you have to string together 5 or 6 attacks to really get where you need to go. The biggest complaint I've heard from players like Brandon Jones and stuff like that is sometimes you just check bad because you have 22 fucking attacks. They could all be in a row, right? No matter how big you make the deck, no matter how good your ratios are, if I only have 8 attacks, I can't check 9 in a row, right? Which is a terrible fucking example, I know, but that is technically true.
But it's very true. It depends. It just depends on how your shuffle goes. And I 100% agree that I think Ochako in the format right now is the most consistent.
She just has the most basic spread of matchups, right? Nobody really hurts what she does. She can still play around capture evildoers and what's the plan very well. And then no one just really has an answer for her. Her abilities are so quick and so timed so well, it's hard to interrupt her.
In fighting game terms, she's the classic Shoto. She is Ken Ryu of Street Fighter. Right now, she is very much the I don't want to say basic because that makes it sound bad. Because she has a lot of variance and nuance to her, but she has a good matchup no matter who she's up against across the table.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be that guy just for a minute, just because we are. I promise we are wrapping it up. We're over the hour.
We went long today. We started late. We're ending late.
Yeah, I do have a couple people waiting for me, so I do have to head out. But I will be that guy just because I am a fighting game nerd, and the Shoto is the person who has all the tools. And specifically, they have like a specific moveset. But their main thing is they should have a tool for every situation to be implemented. And so in that respect, I feel like that's like the water symbol. The water symbol is like over cranked to the point where it's just really good. So it's like if a Shoto was busted, normally Shotos are like that mid power level, which is what you're referring to. So like I totally understand where you're coming from with that, but I have to be that fighting game player that is like Ochako is definitely more of the almost like a set play character to me, where she has these generically good options, and depending on what you do changes how she reacts to it. She doesn't have to commit to certain lines. She doesn't have to just ram her head down, like go full bore, and she can pivot very well. She can go, okay, well, if you don't want to block this home run comment, I don't have to respond with it because it will go to momentum later. I can play a 4-diff that you might, right? And she can then bank those blocks for later. So in that respect, she does have a lot of stuff covered like a Shoto, and I agree that she has like that general field. But as far as like the strict comparison, she is very, very good at capitalizing on what you do. And that is what has been the strength of the Chaos version. That has been, I think, the strength of like all the veteran players I see gravitating towards her, like Ryan Fields, Tim Keefe, Tamron Cardwell, Mark Tyner. Like these are all like people who have put in the hours, and they have chosen Ochako for a fucking reason, right? Like they have, there's a very good reason they've picked her, and it's because she has the proactive game plan, and she can do things based on what you do. Like Nomu has no pivot. Nomu is just gonna smash. Mineta has that setup. He has that synergistic vibe that he needs to have that card pool stuffing to really get going. Ochako just starts with a blank slate, and she says, my turn might change depending on what you do, but I am in control of it. Mineta can go, fuck, if they never block, I just have 16 damage. But if they block the first attack, I have 20 damage, right? Like, that's the fucking worst.
Yeah, fair. 100%.
That's the worst when, like, you're just like, man, if they block my 4 damage attack, I'll get 6 damage from the next 3. But if they never block my 4 damage attack, I have to play all of these to get that, right? So it's just the kind of thing where throwing
She's like a driver's seat character, I think, is the big thing there. Like,
yeah, just being in the driver's seat, having low risk pokes, knowing that you'll get momentum no matter what you do, no matter what your opponent does, right? Like the whole point is she's trying to put you in a lose-lose and then choose what to do based on how you lost. Did you block that 0 gravity lift and only take 3 because you don't think I'm going to go ham on you? That's a fucking shame. Did you not block the 0 gravity lift and I now know you have the cards to block the rest of my hand? Okay, cool. You just took 6 fucking damage from...
That's a shame.
Yeah, that's a shame. Like, I guess I'll see you next turn, right? So, I definitely think we're going to still see Ochako for a long time. I don't think you're going to see that much Suyu. I think people are going to adapt to her a little better, and I think she is difficult to play. The only reason I'm not thinking about playing her for the regional is I don't want to count my opponent's discard pile all the time and worry about what attacks I have to block. Sue is definitely like a very backswingy character if she's not playing on turn 2. And so Hirogiri and Sue are like the characters I want to play the most and characters I just won't fucking play on webcam.
Yeah.
I don't.
That's the thing too, is that webcam format changes what characters get played. Very much so.
Yeah. I don't want to play Jiro on webcam very much. I don't want to play Momo on webcam because my opponent's going to ask me what's in my discard pile the whole time. And like taking notes like on webcam is also its own thing because you have to have either space for it or you have to go off camera and then show your hands and then, all that stuff. So it does change quite a bit when you are playing on webcam, and I do want to take that into account. But as we've seen, it's obviously not like undoable.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably gonna do it for us today. I'm very bad at like canned intros and outros, but we've been here for over an hour. We've been entertaining the folks. This is gonna go up on youtube.com/Ace Maneuvers. I'm going to put the full upload for anybody who missed any part of it, who wants to go back, check out the beginning if you're here at the end. Linoko, give us the plug. Tell us where they can find you on social media.
Best place to find me is going to be over at my Twitch as well, twitch.tv/Lenoco. Twitter is Lenoco Gaming, and YouTube is Lenoco as well. You want to find me, the easiest way to get in contact with me directly at the My Hero Academia card game Discord. Um, yeah, that's really about it for me. I'm with you on that, Sam. I kind of just stream and play games when I feel like it, and I'm not here for shills, but come hang out.
It's a byproduct. Shilling is a
Yeah,
byproduct of wanting to grow your community.
it kind of is.
Next time we'll get Andrew Holder, we'll get Go Beyond Gaming, we'll get somebody else. We'll do like a roundtable of like content creation. We'll talk about that because that is just like a small spoiler. I remember when I first started talking to like the My Hero audience, right? And like like a couple months in, like kind of really getting introduced with people, they would talk about the content creation and how different it is from other games, and how they assumed everybody was like on payroll. They assumed everybody was either like on payroll or like trying really hard to be on payroll, trying really hard to suck up for those kinds of things. And it was very jarring to people who have been in other card game communities who, they're just not used to that sort of involvement. And again, I'd rather dedicate a whole podcast to it because to me,
Yeah, that's a topic in and of itself for
yeah,
sure.
just to sum up it now, I think to me you have to have people who criticize, not just because it shows like a different side of things, but because it shows specifically that despite the complaints, I'm willing to play. That despite the issues I have, I still support the game. I'm not sponsored. I'm not supported. I don't make any real money off of anything I do. I sell promos I get for winning a tournament. Like I don't make any money from the stuff that I do with this game regularly. And so that should matter when I say this is bad or I have a critique or this is something I'm worried about. But then I upload fucking 4 videos a month. I'm spending 9,000 fucking hours to make these videos. Obviously, I'm not doing it just to complain about something I don't care about, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
it shows that you love the community and you love like showing off. Even critiquing is very much a thing that helps the community grow just as much as complimenting it and being this is absolutely the greatest. Well, I'm okay knowing that there's some pinholes in the greatest ship.
Yeah, you can't do.
As long as it's not the Titanic and we lose the game again, because I don't want to lose. It'll be my 3rd game that I've lost, and no, just rip Netrunner.
Yeah. Hey, the staying power of the Universus system, the core mechanics, is not to be understated. There is no other card game outside of the big 3 that has stayed around for as long as UFS, Universus, whatever has. So that is worth mentioning. That is to their credit, to Jasco's credit, buying out the game and keeping it going. If you account for just the Jasco years, we might still be longer running than any other card game I know of. So that in and of itself is an accomplishment, and it just makes me really excited for the future. I know everyone says that. We're always excited for the growth, but that is, on the precipice of set 2, that's all you can think about. So I will cast this out here. I'll get us out of here. We're right at an hour and a half. That seems like as good a time as any to sign off here. So thank you guys for joining us in the chat. I appreciate your viewership as always. Thank you guys for the follow, for the support. Thank you guys for supporting the game, for supporting the community, for going to your locals, for going to your pre-releases, for buying product. I've got the unfunstuff.com pre-order today from my buddy Chris Bromley over at Unfunstuff, who is sponsoring players because he wants to see the game grow, because he wants to see the community grow. And I want to thank you again, Linoko, for joining me today, for working through all the technical issues, all the grassroots stuff, for putting up with the cat. He's still over there. But I got to go feed him. I got to go hang out with the family. They need me. I will see you all next week for another episode of Orange Card, Blue Card. Thank you once again, Linoko.
course, you're very welcome on that. Anytime you need me, anytime you want me, just give me a call. I'm here. No worries.
Awesome. And I will see you all next week for the very next broadcast. Again, I'm just terrible at outros. It never feels like it never feels like the right time to go. So I'm going to give you the last word, Linoko, because I talked too much throughout this whole hour.
Nah, no worries. Once again, chat, thanks for hanging out with us. People listening later on, make sure you guys check us out live once we're doing this, twitch.tv/Ace Maneuvers. Once per week, we're going to be here. Everyone out there, biggest thing though, take care of yourselves, stay safe, stay happy, and we're going to see you guys next time.